Hi, everybody. We are starting our work on parabolas. So this is going to be a 3-day process where we're going to learn how to write equations of parabolas, identify the main characteristics, and graph parabolas. So I wanted to start off by reviewing Algebra 1 because it's been a while and I want to make sure that we're all confident on what we've learned or maybe what you were taught but forgot about parabolas. So basically, parabola is a U-shaped graph. It is in the format of y equals x squared. This right here, y equals x squared, would have a vertex of 0, 0, right? And then what happens is my points go on either side, over 1 and up 1 in each direction, and then over 2 and up 4 in each direction. And this is called my parent function of a parabola. So this is basic. This parabola has a vertex of 0, 0. Here, this involves a transformation. Remember how here is my h? Do you remember that? And it's always the opposite sign. So that means that my vertex here is going to be where? At -1, comma, and then there was no k. K is missing. So it's kind of like a +0, but I wrote it really lightly because I want you to just realize, So my vertex is going to be at -1, 0. But my shape of my parabola, I'm not worried about skinny and fat right now. It's just going to be a basic parabola. That's 1, let me get another, 1 in each direction and then up 1. 2 in each direction and then up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this had a shift 1 to the left because the h had a 1. Now let's go down. On your paper, I believe it says positive x squared. So let's fix that. Can you please put a negative sign? So these parabolas on the first two examples I did opened upward, right? But a negative sign means that my parabola is going to open downward. So this means that my vertex, let's think about it. There is no h. There is no like x. It's like kind of x plus 0, isn't it? Plus 1. So my h is 0 and my k is positive 1. So I'm going to have a transformation where this parabola shifts up 1, but it's facing downward. So here we go. My vertex is at 0, 1, right? It's going downward, which means that I'm going to have 1 in either direction, down 1. 2 in either direction, down 4. So I'm hoping that this is ringing a bell. These are just the basics of graphing a parabola, right? My vertex was at 0, 1. Okay. Reminder, this is what the equation of a parabola was, okay? And that means that I'm going to have a parabola that either opened upward or downward, depending on like if this a was plus or minus, right? So that's the equation of parabola. Let's do our fourth one. Our fourth one that we're going to talk about has a transformation. It's got a horizontal shift and a vertical shift. My vertex is going to be h and k, and it's going to be -3, comma, -1, right? And this is going to open upward or downward. Look at this sign. It's a positive, so it's going to open upward. -3, -1. And I'm hoping that your copy also has that -1 there too. Okay. It's opening upward, but again, I'm not doing anything skinny or fatter. It's just the parent function shape, which means 1 to the either direction, 1 up. 2. So this is just a basic parent function of a parabola. Okay, so remember all that, right? Long time ago. Okay, so I just gave you 4 parabolas that opened upward and downward. I want to talk to you about one other thing that we're going to learn in this section. And I've misplaced my purple pen. Oh, okay. Sorry. Today, we're going to do parabolas that open upward and downward, but we're also going to talk about parabolas that open to the side. And something I want to point out is if you have a parabola that opens up to the side, left or right, you're going to end up having, instead of an x squared, you're going to have a y squared in your equation. Okay? So that's something that you need to kind of keep in the back of your brain. Opening upward and downward, vertical, is what you remember from Algebra 1 with an x squared. When we have a parabola that opens horizontally, it's either opens to the right or it opens to the left. That's when you have a y squared. Okay, so that's something that I'm introducing that's new to our parabola knowledge. All right, so let's move on to the next page. Okay, so our next page has just some basics about parabolas. Now, we're starting to talk a parabola graphing about conic sections. And just the word conic section means it's a part of a cone. So if I had a cone and I put a horizontal sheet through the cone, I will have formed a parabola, and I can outline it in purple right here. This shape is a section of the cone that is formed when I have a plane that intersects a cone. Okay, and I highlighted it in purple. So that's how a parabola is formed. Okay, so now we're going to talk about some of the basics of a parabola. All right, a parabola is a set of points such that each point is equidistant to a fixed point. So every point on my parabola is going to be the same distance, equidistant to a point called the focus and a line called the directrix. So that means that I could have, and I'm going to do a lot of different colors here. I'll do blue. That I could have my focus be here and say, because look, these two dotted lines are the same. Or I could have an equidistant set of lines that are like here and here. Those are the same size. Okay. Or here and here. These blue lines are the same size. Okay, so they're always equidistant no matter what point I'm on. Okay, so that means that the distance, this length, distance 1 and distance 2, d sub 1 and d sub 2 are the same size. Okay, so those lines are the same size. All right, now let's really focus in on all things about vertical. Up and down. That's what we learned in Algebra 1, right? Let's see if the lamp helps. Oh, let's get that back on. Okay, so here's what I've got. I have a distance from my focus to my vertex, and I call this distance a P. This distance is from the vertex to the focus. Okay, see this point up here, remember focus? So these are vocab words. From the vertex to the focus, it has a certain length. It's P. If I go downward, it'd be negative P. I mean, just think about it. Up P or down P. So this is called my focus, right? Because every point is equidistant from, every point on my parabola is equidistant from the focus to this dotted line. And this dotted line is what I call my directrix. Here we go. D, I, R, E, C, T, R, I, X. Directrix. Okay, those are equidistant, the same size. That's why it's a P, because it tells you like what's the distance, how far apart are they. Okay. The vertex is obviously the corner of the curve of the parabola. Okay. I'm also going to point out that on this vertical parabola, my axis of symmetry still runs through. Remember that word from Algebra 1? So there's my axis of symmetry. Okay. This axis of symmetry, I'll write it over here on the side, AOS, axis of symmetry, is going to be at x equals 0. My focus, because my vertex is at, we'll say 0, 0, right? 0, 0. It's going to be over 0 spaces, but up P. Remember, I went up P. Over nothing, but I went up P. So my focus is going to have 0, comma, P as my ordered pair, right? My directrix, can you say that? Directrix. The directrix is going to have an equation of y equals negative P, because remember, like, it's a horizontal line, right? So horizontal lines are in the form of y equals 1. So this is like y equals negative 1 or y equals negative 2, this horizontal line. Y equals negative P. Okay? So now let's stick with vertical, because that's what we're used to. Okay, because we also have to talk about horizontal in this lesson as well. The standard form of a vertical parabola is going to be x minus h squared equals 4 times P, 4 times the length, and then y minus k. Remember I said earlier in the lesson that when we had parabolas before, they were vertical up and down, and it was always the x that had the exponent of 2x squared. Okay, we're doing the same thing here. The x has the second power. Okay? So, there's also another form that I want you to practice, because sometimes we're going to have to figure out how far is P, because sometimes you can't count it. Usually we'll be able to count and say, oh, P is 2 away or 3 away. But I also want you to write down, this is going to be for future use, but I want you to just put it down today, that x squared equals P times y. And this is at my 0, 0 vertex. There is no h and k. The h is 0 and the k is 0. So that's going to be the equation if I had my vertex at 0, 0. Direction of opening. If it opens up, then that means that P is greater than 0, because I'm going to have P being positive. I'm going to go up. P is going to be positive, and I'm going to go up. If it opens down, then I'm going to have P less than 0, and P is going to equal a negative, and that's going to go down, right? And that makes sense. Okay, so that's good. So now I've talked all things vertical, okay? Let's talk about horizontal, and then we're going to get into our vocab that's right in the middle there. Okay. Horizontal, opening left to right. I said that a horizontal, it opens left or it opens right, has a y squared in it. Remember that? So now here I am back at this, and I'm going to have everything like you've seen above. Here's the focus, right? My focus has a ordered pair of P, right? P distance from my vertex to my focus and from my vertex to my directrix are all the same. That's going to be negative P because I'm going left. This is my, I'm doing it in purple, axis of symmetry. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me go back. Apologize. My axis, this is my directrix. And my axis of symmetry always cuts the parabola in half. So my axis of symmetry is going to be over here. This. My axis of symmetry is y equals 0. My directrix, well, let's go in order. My focus, I want to make sure that I get all this right, is going to be P comma 0. So I'm from my vertex, I went over P, but I didn't go up or down any. And then my directrix is going to be y equals negative P. It's going to be x equals negative P. Maybe I should not be writing in pen. So let me cross that out. So it's not even there. Okay. All right. So let's talk about what I mean when I say that the directrix is that dotted line that is on the other side of the parabola. The directrix line is always on the other side of the parabola. Okay. Below it, to the left of it, to the right of it. But the focus is in the middle. The focus is the equidistant. Remember that? Equidistant here, equidistant. So any point on the line is going to have from the focus to the directrix is going to be the same distance. That's this D1 and D2, the drawings that I did up above. Okay, so we've got our focus. Our focus is always inside the parabola, inside the curve. Okay, so my focus is always going to be inside the curve. My directrix is always going to be on the other side, and they're always equidistant. P and P is what we use to label the distance. Okay, so I've got my axis of symmetry, which I had y equals 0. Just this line right here, right? My directrix was on the other side of the parabola. Okay, so I've got, I don't know, let me try and do a little drawing over here. I've got like a parabola wherever it is. My focus is going to be in the middle, and my directrix is going to be on the other side. That's something you just need to commit to memory right now. Okay? I know this video is long. We're almost done, guys. We're almost done. Okay. Now, the standard form, if my parabola is horizontal, is this. Y minus k squared equals 4p x minus h. Now, this is if I have a vertex that's at some weird point, right? The x always goes with h. The y always goes with k. But notice how they're flipped in order here. Because like I said, a parabola that opens vertically has the x squared. A parabola that opens horizontally has the y squared. Okay? If I have a vertex at 0, 0, it's going to look like this. Y squared equals 4 px. And that's if it's at 0, 0. Okay? I will know that it opens right if my p is positive. I will know that my parabola opens left if my p is negative. All right, so this whole page, there's so much happening. So much happening. Okay? That's why we're only doing the beginning in one day. Because I know that if I try to teach you even more, you'd just be like, so let's finish the middle part, and then you guys will be done. The focus always lies inside. Okay? The focus comes within. I don't know, whatever you want to do to remember it. Like, think of some weird Star Wars thing, or like, from within is where you find your focus and your drive and your, your true inner self. Your focus inside. The directrix always lies outside of the parabola. So the directrix and the axis of symmetry are perpendicular. They make a 90-degree angle, which we noticed, with my labeling from before. Okay. And lastly, the vertex is always p distance, the absolute value of p, however far p is, okay, away from the focus and the directrix. The vertex is in the middle of my focus and my directrix. And that's also super important. The last page that I have that you just printed out is this page here. So now, this page here is really important because it gives just like everything on one page, easy to understand. It shows you how a parabola is formed, okay? And this piece of paper is a great resource, kind of like a cheat sheet, but you need to memorize it, okay? All the little details that I put in here, all these things here, all these things here, are going to help you in the future, like tomorrow, when we start getting into the nitty-gritty. Your homework tonight is going to be a Quizlet. And I want you to do the flashcards, but where you learn the flashcards. So you have to go through it twice, is what the directions say. So you click on the link, and then you click on Learn. And Learn is going to be where you have to go through and kind of study vocab words, and all these words is what our homework is going to be based on tonight. Okay, so excellent job. I'm glad you're with me. Make sure that you are still checking in with me during the Zoom times so that I can answer your questions. We can troubleshoot, because this is not the time for you to fall behind. I'm here for you. So do not let yourself fall behind because you are too afraid to ask, or you don't want to come to the Zoom session, or you don't want to send me an email, because then you only have yourself to blame. Okay, you guys? So awesome. All right, I will talk to you tomorrow.